would just make a little video here to help explain to you guys one technique that I just used to help light my smoker. Now, I know I didn't show you because I didn't really think about it, and I didn't know if it would work, but it helped. I tell people all the time, lighting the smoker is one of the most frustrating things you can do in beekeeping if you're trying to do it old school. Now, if you want to cheat, just use a propane torch like I've done plenty of times, that's fine, be my guest. But I lost my torch, and so now for like a year I've been lighting it with just using balled up newspaper and then throwing in a little bit of sticks and twigs and sawdust and trying to get it going. Now notice how windy it is today. It's wanting to cut the top off my smoke. The problem with that is it's wanting to blow air down into the smoker, and actually is causing a downdraft effect to where at times I see smoke come out the bottom of the smoker. When I first lit it, I had a little bit of newspaper down in the bottom, and I couldn't get it to get enough draw to move air up through the smoker, so the ball of newspaper itself would just burn out. It just couldn't get smoke. I had it kind of started, kind of smoldering, and I put in some just pine shavings here, and that got it to where it was just barely burning, but it wasn't enough, and I was trying to hurry it along. I didn't want to dump it all out and start over. And then finally it dawned on me, I need to help it get air draw. Well, what's the best way that should work with the smoker? Well, heat rises, and as heat rises, that smoke goes out the top, and it's going to force it to draw fresh air in the bottom hole down here, even if there's this weird breeze going on. The heat rising effect is going to be more than that little bit of downdraft effect that you might get. So what I actually did was, rather than dump the smoker out, I put more fuel in, and then I wadded up more newspaper and I lit a fire on top of the fuel. Now remember, I had a little bit of a smolder going below it. I just couldn't get it to take off and catch up. So I lit a fire on top of the fuel. And what that actually did was that gave me that heat draw that I needed. And so my smoke the heat started rising rapidly, which sucked a lot of fresh air in the bottom hole, which fed oxygen to the smoldering fire that was down in the bottom to then light the fuel above it. Now the stuff that was on top, of course, it burned out sacrificial. It did not actually technically light the fuel. The smoldering below is what actually lit the fuel. So just an idea, something you guys can try. Like, I've never tried that before, but once it dawned on me, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Like, yes, absolutely, that should work. Something else I'm doing today that I've never done is using wood pellets. These are I buy these from my Traeger smoker. They're not fancy Traeger brand pellets, I'll admit it. These are like Pit Boss or something just from Walmart. And I'm trying to use those because the wood pellets should burn a lot longer than the pine sawdust. That's the idea anyway. So I'm gonna throw them in here. This is kind of a test. I'm just gonna throw them in here and see how much better I can get them to burn. What's wrong with you, Mare? What's wrong? What's wrong? I think she slipped in the mud. Okay, I'll be a dad and go tend to her. Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you guys as an idea to help, again, encourage the airflow through your smoker. Because I was sitting here just pumping on as much as I could, and I couldn't get it to wake up. I couldn't get it to take off. So rather than sit here and pump forever, I just started another little fire here on top, and that created that air draw that I needed to get that bottom fire burning. And I think I've got it pretty well lit now. So now I'm just going to keep feeding it fuel and try to keep it burning. Well, there's just a little update for you. Hour later, chugging away. I'll pop it open here and see what our fuel inside looks like, but I haven't touched it. I went and checked a few hives out there for 10 minutes and then came back in and just set it on the tailgate, went in the house, kind of did some chores, whatever else. And yeah, this is an hour later, happy as can be. It might be hard to get a good look through the smoke, but I think you guys can see it good enough. Those pellets on top still have not burned. They're just waiting their turn, I guess, to burn down and get lit. So really happy with this. I mean, I expected it to work. Obviously, people have been doing this way longer than me. Just the first time I had done it. Like I said, I was being cheap. You know, just want to use wood flakes or sawdust, whatever. But you really need a little bit, I think a little bit better airflow excuse me, to help it burn. So for me, even if it costs a little bit to get these wood pellets, excuse me, even if it costs a little bit to get these wood pellets, it's worth it to have it light well and burn for hours without problems. Okay, I'm sold. Looky here. 10 o'clock at night. That last little update I made for you was at 7:30. So that was an hour after I lit it. Now it's 2.5 hours and it's just been sitting here on my tailgate smoking. And look, still got pellets that ain't even burnt yet. They're starting to break down a little bit, but you can see obviously the charred ones on the left, but you got uncooked ones on the right. This sucker's still got a couple hours in it. And it's just sitting here chugging away. I knocked the lid off before I showed you, but that's a good healthy smoke. Yes sir, I'll be looking to buy me some pellets.